Right.
வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Dr. Ravi is there. He will continue.
And Dr. Ravi Prakash ஐயா.
வாழ்க வளமுடன் ஐயா, வாழ்க வளமுடன் அம்மா. Yes.
So, thank you,
Yeah.
Varga Valamudan Ayya. Thank you again for taking your time and helping us in today's Q&A session. Before opening to Q&A to everybody, let's have a brief summary of what we discussed last week for 5 minutes. Ayya, if you can, please summarize the plasma and sexual vital fluid 5 minutes so that people can, as Julius asked a question, during our day, we lose our focus back. And how do we get back our focus is by summarizing things. So if you can, Ayya, summarize in 5 minutes what we discussed last week, or if anybody else summarizes, then we go into Q&A. Thank you.
Vijayalakshmi Amma, you would like to summarize or shall I continue?
Yeah, you please continue. Yeah. வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Yeah, வாழ்க வளமுடன். Let us give our salutation to our respected Guru and IR team for giving us this opportunity to discuss about Kayakalpam and from a plasma perspective. So last week we covered some of the slides on the highlights of Maharishi's songs, the poems. So on the poem with its translation. So we tried to see the highlights. So after looking at the highlights, then we entered into the topic on the sexual vital fluid. So the physical body, astral body, and the causal body, and how the physical body is made of. So starting from Paramanu, then to going to the next stage of wind, and from there millions of wind, so joining together to form the cell, and each of these cell so is independent like an industry, it is having its own system completely like an organism. It can survive on its own, and still these are all connected through biomagnetism, and the cells are stacked in our body, and this stacking of cells we call it as the physical body. So that is what we have seen last time, and these cells are connected by biomagnetism, and this biomagnetism between the cells, so altogether if we consolidate the total algebraic one, so that we will see the overall the body biomagnetism. So that is what Maharishi is explaining about the biomagnetism for us. And then how this biomagnetism and the life force particles, so those things are coming into the picture. And then the biomagnetism is responsible for all types of Panchatanmatrai, so that we call it as the pentasensory wave. So we try to give a name to it, like the pressure, light, sound, taste, and smell. And then the same biomagnetism is helping our autonomous nervous system and central nervous system of our brain. And this is how the human body functions through the biomagnetism. And so what the total body is comprised of is about physical body, sexual vital fluid, soul, that is a life force particle, then biomagnetism and mind. So these are all the 5 things that the human body is made of. And then we were talking about the genetic center, and the genetic center, so it forms the whole biomagnetism running in the body. So the whole biomagnetism, so it forms a center, so that we call it as the genetic center. And genetic center is the main treasure chest for us, so which contains the details of all the evolutionary data inside that. So in this genetic center, so we have different layers. One is the central portion is the high dense material, so or the true material we can say. So because everything is virtual here in genetic center, so there is the dependence of genetic center is going to be the biomagnetic force, the sexual vital fluid, and the life force. So all the things are depending on the genetic center. So that is how we discussed last time. And sexual vital fluid. So this vital fluid is completely filled in the body in all the cells, and this vital fluid, when it is produced in the brain, so it is spent towards all the body functions, towards the body for all functioning of various parts. And then we have the excess production of this fluid, so will get stored into the sexual glands after the age of 12. So that is how we discussed. And then the sexual vital fluid, so it is depending on the sex, whether it is on the male or the female, so it gets converted into sperm and ovum respectively. So that is how we call it as the Nada Vindu Kaladi Namo Namaha. So that was told by Arunagiri Nadar. So that we discussed here, some discussion on that. Then we try to discuss about the life force particle, that is the life force energy. So how the energy is circulated in the body. And then coming to the, so these are all about the Kaya Kalpam part. Then we discussed about plasma perspective. So plasma is the fourth state of matter. So it goes, right now the science has come up to the level of quarks, 10 to the power minus 18 like. So we are still calling it as the wisdom science.
Recording in progress.
In the scale. So that is how we move in. And then we discussed about Vedatrium science, and then parallelly, from the space, everything, eternal space, everything got evolved from the Paramanu, so the least possible particle. From there, we entered into wind and then subatomic particles. So these are all the things. And then going into the state of plasma, so it is a high energy particles, so which is almost filled the total universe. So that is how we have seen that. Then plasma has a very specific behavior, that is a collective behavior, and the collective behavior of the particles are going to be the total behavior of the plasma state. So for that, an example of self-compression. So the sun in the plasma state, we have taken that to prove that what we are speaking about the plasma, whether our understanding is okay. And then this is about the high temperature plasma. So then there is about a low temperature one. So there are many scientific research is right now going on. So that we have taken as the biological transmutation, so which was done by Professor Kervaran. So that we have discussed somewhere. And then finally, we concluded with the genetic center. And then that is how we discussed further on the genetic center, that heavier particles are at the central portion, and whereas the lighter portions, so we continue to have the high energy particles. And in the past, what people they used to do is, so they shift the from the Mooladhara, so they shift the genetic center to the top, and that is how the saints in the past they used to do. And almost they shift the Mooladhara to the top. So all the Avayar and other previous saints, so they have discussed about that one very detailedly. But in our case, we take that and then the divine fluid, so divine fluid irrigation we call it. So we try to recirculate it, because otherwise this from the genetic center, it will enter into by gravity, enter into the sexual glands, and it will get wasted. Instead of that, we are trying to recycle it. So that is why we are calling it as the divine fluid irrigation. So we take that to our brain, and from there through our mind, so we make a shower to all the cells, so that all the cells are filled up with this biomagnetic bathing. So that is how we discussed this. So these are all the things that we discussed in the last meeting. Yeah.
Recording stopped.
Hello.
Recording in
Yeah.
progress.
Yes, I am.
Yes. Here are 2 points to clarify. The right from birth, the SVF is there. It is functioning and it is building the body from the birth weight to the adolescent weight. And since this enormous volume is involved, the weight built up is entirely by the sexual vital fluid. There is no surplus. At the time of puberty, there is a flattening of the new cell production. There is a plateau. So the new cells are less and less formed to replace the necessary ones, and there is a relative surplus of sexual vital fluid. This vital fluid in the spinning system of the causal and astral bodies gravitates to the center, genetic center, and here it is building up, and when the voltage produced by the sexual vital fluid is then in the required amount, the gonads, testes and ovaries become functional. They mature. This we call maturity. It is not stored in the sexual glands. It is present in the center of the genetic center, central area. And the other thing is the SVF has all the qualities of the plasma, and it is made up of subatomic particles less than quark, as the scientific advance may come to divide the quark or the other subatomic particles. Whereas what Maharishi says is the divinest particle or energy particle is indivisible, and that is the direct transformation from the absolute space. That's all. I will be willing to listen and come as and when required. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ravi, you can proceed with
Yeah.
today's.
Yeah, okay. What I was talking about was there is a word about Ojas. So in the Kaya Kalpam, so Ojas does the main part, and which we are considering it both the biomagnetism as well as the particles which are floating in, and then it is completely connected, and it gives a collective behavior, and it retains all the functions everywhere. So it is not that one part is not knowing the functionary of the body. So since everything is known to everyone there, so that gives the collective behavior. And then there is a floating mechanism, and through which the whole body is connected, like how our planet, everything is connected. So our body is totally connected. So these are all the analogies that we are trying to have. Next comes the temperature part, and then the life force particles, how they are linked up with. So that way we see that as the Ojas one which we are discussing. So for that I have just seen downloaded a presentation. So on particularly on this Ayurveda. So they discuss about Ojas, Tejas and Prana. So Vag, Pit and Kap. So like that they say. So that Kabam is we call it for the Tejas. The Ojas actually. So Ojas, even in Vallalar also they are he's talking about Ojas. So like it is the a lamp when you are looking at the oil rig lamp, so that we see that that light which is coming out, so is going to be the biomagnetism part. So that we call it as the Tejas. So the Tejas is high, and then the Ojas is the one which is taking the fuel and then lightening it. And so that is how they are discussing. So everywhere this comparison is going on. So I have sent a presentation also. So today Vijayalakshmi madam, so she has already circulated that. So that contains the details of OJS. So if we try to look at that it is a waveform. So it is a sort of energy particles. So the energy particles which are circulated in the body. So as a current which is going in, and because of the current there is a magnetic field. So the biomagnetism is produced, and all the things are floating on this divine fluid. So we can compare it with the analogy of plasma. So that is how we are trying to compare. So I'm giving the presentation to all. So just you can have a go through. So probably after the meeting also. So it's a very short presentation. So one can view through and understand about how they talk about OJS in Ayurveda. So that in the final touch, they are saying that more research has to be done from the point of view of Ayurveda and through the yoga research. So we have to find more about this OJS. So that OJS is the part where we have to concentrate. And moreover, what I have found regarding the biomagnetism, the medicine field, so they are almost in along with us. So they are recognizing the presence of biomagnetism. So like we call it as the EEG and ECG. So they are now making it as a MCG and MEG. So like electro is removed and then magneto they are making it. So the combination of these two are helping the doctors to even diagnose it. So in these papers, these are all very recent papers, like 2023, like. So I can send that paper also to the group so that anybody is interested, so we can really get into more details on this biomagnetic research. So that also will give us more light on understanding of this total Kayakalpam from research point of view. Thereby we can take this plasma analogy and we can even do more. So that's all from my side for today.
Can we have a question and answer section? Or if Aya, MBR Aya is having something?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Ravi Prakash, you are finished. You have completed?
Yes, I have completed it.
Right. Now to start the question and answer session, I'm putting an open question. How do you justify that SVF is a plasma? Anyone can answer.
ஐயா வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Yes.
Actually, this is also, in fact, my question that how we can equate the plasma as an equivalence of SVF or biomagnetism. But you also asked already. So I will just try to summarize from what I learned from Ravi Prakash Ayya and try to correlate. But I'll be more helped if Dr. Ravi Prakash Ayya can follow me and explain it further. So we know that the SVF has got this property which is very unique and it is present everywhere. It is linked to the genetic center. It can be mobilized throughout the body, and if we take it outside the body, we can label it as the magnetism. Within the body, biomagnetism. In the earth or galaxy, it's more of like electromagnetism, etc. And when we try to find the state of this particular entity, we know that three main states are like solid, liquid and gas. Somehow this is not fitting into any of these three states. So we were forced to head towards the fourth state, I think that's where the plasma comes into play, because we know from the sun where the fusion happens, the whole thing is by the plasma. And Dr. Ravi Prakash Iyer quite clearly established what is plasma, what is it in physics or scientific point of view, and how we can relate it to that. So when we try to label the properties of this SVF and biomagnetism, its fluidity, it more matches with the properties of the plasma. So that the common things are like both plasma and the SVF, they are not solid, they are not liquid, they are not gaseous, they are but fluid, and they have lots of common properties, and that's how we are able to label this SVF, or in other words biomagnetism, as being plasma. But I think Dr. Ravi Prakash Iyer can build further on this. வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Yeah, so you have clearly got the point, and thank you, Dr. Anandaya. In why we are comparing it with the plasma? So that question is reoccurring. So one thing we should see. So that is why I have given the plasma, the other sides of plasma. So everything I have shown. So the idea behind this is something like we are trying to understand that the three states of matter is available. So do we see all the three states right now? Yes, we are able to see. So solid, liquid, and gas. But are we satisfied with that? So the question is no, because since we know Vedatriyam, so we know that there is some more things. So other than this, so these particles, we call it as the paruporul. So that is the matter. So the matter itself is made of very small Paramanu-like material. So that Paramanu-like, so you can call it as a particle, a material, or a wave. So it is the possible smallest particle. So that PLP or the Paramanu we call. So how that is going to be involved in all the three states? So we are seeing that in all the three states, that is already embedded. So how it is embedded? Actually, it is in the plasma state. So what we understand, the whole world probably, so we have a view that because there is a new study, particularly on the fourth state, the plasma state. So we started understanding. So what is plasma? So the plasma is which you are seeing in the universe. So in the universe, do you really have an electrode to create it? No. So it is filled with the plasma means, so it is having some peculiar state. So that is why we call it as the fourth state. So in that fourth state, what it is filled up of? That nobody directly answers it. And then you come back to our lab scale, or even in the solar. So solar, we are looking at as the whole sun, so it is shrinking down, and then you are having a gravitational self-compression force. So you are continuously getting the energy, but it is in the form of plasma. So there we realize that it is because everything is, the lots of energy is coming out. So we are ready to understand that it is the plasma state. And the same way, when we are conducting in the lab, so either we create using a magnetic field or electric field, and then we are trying to see the plasma. So that place, so we are quite satisfied, because you have created through a gas. So that gas, so you try to heat that gas to very high temperature, like 1 lakh degree centigrade or 1 million degree centigrade, like you are continuously moving up. So when you are heating that gas, then again you are saying that, okay, I got the helium plasma, I got the argon plasma, you are satisfied. So now we are all having only one way of looking at it, is so that we are trying to heat up and then it goes to a plasma state. Actually, that state is there everywhere in everything. So that is how this Paramanu, if you put that concept and try to reorganize this, instead of looking it at the fourth state of matter as the science says, so if you try to see behind it, then you will understand the real logic behind it, as the plasma is there everywhere. So that is why the plasma is there in the universe, the 99.9% it is filled. All the astrophysicists are saying that the reason is everything is made of all this plasma. You can say the Paramanu particles only. Like that, if you consider it, then you will be able to understand this. So if we are able to understand that, then correlating it within the body, so it becomes very easy. And then looking at the temperature and other things, so we can really look into the life force particle, the spinning whirling wave, the life force particles. So the whirling wave will have very high velocity. So you can consider it as the high temperature. So that is how we can see it as the plasma. Yeah. Actually, if you see directly from the textbook point of view, it is very difficult because we are only we are very much familiar with what we talk as plasma on only the formulas, and then the lab plasma or the solar plasma or the space plasma. So even in the plasma studies, if you try to see, there also they talk about hot plasma, cold plasma, and then if you talk about what is happening in the universe or the sun, so they say as okay, that is you call it as the space plasma, so that is a separate research. So we are not into that research. So like that, they themselves put a line. So what we are doing is we are connecting everything because we have Vedatrium with us. So that is why we are able to connect Aya. So that is the only thing which we have to see. Thank you, Aya. I think I have given.
Thank you, Aya.
Yeah.
That's much more helpful and வாழ்க வளமுடன். Very nice explanation.
Yeah, thank you, Aya.
MBRIA.
Any other question that we can take up?
Aya asked the question where he got the answer that we can confirm from MBRIA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, before we move to next question. Thank you.
I think probably he's busy.
Okay.
Around 8 o'clock, he might be in. Yeah.
Can I come in? I'm
Yes.
Dr. Dev. Can I come in?
Sure, Swadhandra Devi Amma. Yeah, please proceed.
வாழ்க வளமுடன் அம்மா.
வாழ்க வளமுடன். Very nice the presentation, Dr. Ravi.
Thank you.
I wanted to say one small correction. You said Abhayar and others, they took the Mooladhara to the cranial chakra. No,
Correct.
they have not said that. They have said Mooladharathu மூண்டெழு கனலை காலால் எழுப்பும் கருத்தறிவித்து. That is what is in Vinayakar Agaval.
Yes.
In Mooladharathu, there is a kanal. Kanal is fire.
Right.
Mooladharathu மூண்டெழும் kanal. So kanal is fire, is a form of energy. So
Right.
the energy that is taken to the Sahasrara. So that's what Abhayar and all the Siddhas say, is the energy that is taken.
Right.
But how do you kindle that energy? Kalal elupum. Kal is breathing. So
Right.
through the breath, you increase the temperature and then you raise the fire and then take it up. So that is how it is done. That is one small correction I wanted to make. And the other thing is in that one song you said, Uyir Tarutha Nadiyil.
உருத்தரித்த நாடி.
That is Urutharitha Nadiyil.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Uru means a form, isn't it?
Yes.
So
Yes.
Life is a formless, but when it becomes a form, that is when the ovum and sperm mature, then the embryo is formed, isn't it?
Okay.
So that is what meant by Urutharittal. Karutharittal
Okay,
say. So
Okay.
Karutharitha Nadiyil Mudungugintra Vayuvai. So what is the Urutharitha Nadi? The Nadi which is first formed in the body is Sushumna. They say, according to traditional Chinese medicine, what they say is when the sperm and ovum meet and the ovum pierces the sperm pierces the ovum and ejects its contents into the ovum. So that is the moment that contains the point of entry of the sperm, and then the passage through which the contents of the sperm goes up to the other end of the ovum. So then there is the passage. So that is what is the first nadi. That in the PCM they call it Taiji pole, and in yoga we call it the Sushumna nadi. So that is the first nadi that is formed in the body. And what is that energy? Uruttaritta nadiyil odungaginra vayuvai. So vayu is again the other form of energy, isn't it?
Energy. Right.
So the energy, odungaga means it's compressed. So compressed energy in that nadi. So that nadi, that is the place where the present is the Mooladhara chakra. So odungaginra nadiyil odungaginra vayuvai karuthinal iruthiye, with the power of your mind. If you can take it up to your Kabalam is Sahasrara. So you can take it. So here also they say it is the energy you take from the Mooladhara to the Sahasrara. Then that other things Viruttarum Valaram Meniyam Sivandidam. So that is the song of that Uruttaritta Nadi. That is the thing. So, and here what I said about the plasma is very interesting. You said gases in high temperature, they produce ionic or plasmic clouds. So I think that the first one, the form is not the plasma, but the Paramanu, you said, isn't it?
Yes.
So from the absolute, what is formed? The consciousness, what is formed first is the Paramanu. And in yoga, it is called the Prana. So Prana, they say, is the first form of first expression of consciousness. And then those times, during Big Bang, there are very high temperatures, and then they convert into plasmic fields or plasmic clouds. So, but as they cool down, then become gas, and then liquid, and then solid. So that is the order of formation. So can I say a little bit about prana? I mean, because I come from a different school of thought.
Okay.
And according to what you said is the same thing I'm going to say, but in a little different way. Can I take some time?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So this even actually 1978, our Swamiji, Swami Satyananda Saraswati of Bihar School of Yoga, he has given an article. I am quoting few things from that only. Okay. So in the perspective of yoga, prana is the primordial energy of the universe. And it is dispersed through the entire material world, just like the plasma. That is where
Devima, your volume is little bit not very clear. Can you bring the mic a little bit closer to you?
Okay. Okay. Now, this prana is both macroscopic, macrocosmic and microcosmic. Macrocosmic is called the Mahaprana. So Mahaprana is the substratum of all the life. And prana is actually described as a complex multidimensional energy, which comprises of electrical, magnetic, photonic, ocular, thermal, and mental energies. And this is called vital energy in our body. And that is where we say this is the ordinary prana, which is divided into 5 pranas, or the pancha pranas, we call it. And these pancha pranas are nothing but different densities in this plasmic field. So, and this energy in this prana flows in our body through various pathways or matrices called the nadis. And you know that the most important 3 nadis are Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. Ida and Pingala are flows of charged ions capable of exerting an influence upon the flow of prana. So the fact that the prana has magnetic energy, because any electrical force which moves, it creates magnetic energy at right angles. Okay. So it is inferred directly from the postulate that Ida and Pingala are composed of ionic particles. There they must also be formed dipoles with positive and negative charges. So they act as microscopic magnets. And to manufacture a magnet, there are 2 ways. One is a piece of iron is placed inside a copper coil and a current is passed. the iron bar becomes magnetized because all the atoms aligning themselves parallel to each other along the length of the bar. And thus they become all the magnetic domains that are pointing towards one same direction, and then it becomes a magnet. Conversely, there is the dynamo principle by which a magnet is rotated inside the coil and the current is produced. So in the body also, there are numerous capillary tunnels called nanotunnels of pranic flow. So if the mind, and with the help of the mind alone, if the ions or the dipoles were made to align themselves in one direction, and this process is called dharana in yoga. You leave all the external influences and bring your mind inside pratyahara, and in dharana you concentrate on one thing, and that is why. So when all the ions and dipoles, they align themselves to one direction instead of moving in many directions. So then that would create a type of a biogenerator or a biological battery. And we would have created a human magnet in which the North Pole is the cranium and South Pole is the Muladhara chakra. And we know that from Muladhara, the Ida, Pingala and Sushumna, they start. So this is how one explanation how using the mind power, which is part of the pranic energy, one can control one's health for the better or worse by one's thinking, mood and emotions. This is of importance to know, and this is how the meditation works. And in the science of Pranavidya, a yogic technique for healing oneself and others, the method is to concentrate this prana or the paramanu by mental energy and direct it to the exact point which is to be healed. And there is one thing called a psychic breath. Psychic breath is the ordinary breath is just in and out of the lungs, and it's only oxygen and other things. But psychic breath is directing prana or this energy, paramanu or life force particle at will. So where the mind goes, the energy goes. So with the psychic breath, that is what we do in Ojas breathing. We direct the energy, and in Pranavidya practice also, we direct the psychic breath to a point, concentrate it, and then send it to an exact point which is to be healed. So that is exactly how in Ojas breath we take the prana up to the Sahasrara, and then we redirect it to the whole part of the body. So the yogis have described this pranamaya kosha or the pranic sheath resides in a more refined, subtle body. And this body was described as a cloud-like in appearance with constant interaction with Annamaya kosha or the physical body. And different colors are emitted depending on one's diet, thinking, state of consciousness at the time of meditation, and also the environment. And this theory is also common to plasma physics, which says different colors of the bioplasmic fields are due to different emissions of photons when electrons change their energy levels from higher to lower levels. So these are some of my thoughts when I heard us for your question. From what I know, I just want to be present it this way. Thank you.
Okay, Ma. So it's quite elaborative and focused. I have seen your lecture also, Ma, on the YouTube also. That was also giving very good details. And today you have given me further details on this. So I'll go through this and come back to you, Ma, with more insight on this. Yeah, thank you so much.
This is Rabindranath Palkavalamadam. Shall I carry on?
Yes, sir.
You see, we all experience that the breath has two components, as Dr. Devi said. One is physical, dealing with the air coming in and going. The other is the energy, breathing, the biomagnetism or prana, as people call it in different ways. If you think of Ajna and breathe out, the air, the energy actually goes to Ajna and you feel something is touching Ajna. Similarly, you do it with the your mind in Surya, you get the touch there. So, this separation, the spiritual as well as the physical breathing is there, and we utilize it in our Kaya Kalpa, in our where you do Ashwani Mudra, it is there, Ojas breath, it is there. It is the physical movement of air is helping the magnetic energy movement. So if that is understood, a lot of difficulties will be sorted out. And she has brought this important point to this to the awareness of everyone. And I appreciate her doing this. Thank you. Hello.
Yes, Saya, we can able to hear you.
Yes.
Yes, anyone else from the audience with their questions?
There is a question in the chat box, Aya.
Yes.
Yes, namaste. I want to know, is possible for you elaborate a little more about plasma in the human being and the relation with the lymph? And I understood the plasma is like one ocean made up of Paramanu, but in the human being, related with the signs, plasma, what tell signs and lymph, what is the relation? Is possible.
Yeah. Julia, so I can see your question. So in the chat box also mentioning about the plasma. The lymph, as you know, it's already there in the medical science. So they have a very established science on lymph and lymph nodes like that. Whereas the plasma, what we are talking about is the fourth state. So I just want to make a point that there is a blood plasma, so which we call, so it's not related to it. So the blood plasma, what the medical field they have been saying, it is a part of the blood itself. So probably doctors can explain it far better. So it's not that plasma what we are talking about. So as you have rightly understood, so it's a version made of Paramanus. So exactly you have mentioned about it. So probably we are talking about the plasma as a energy level. So to the energy life force particle like we are discussing about. And probably lymph is the one which is fluid, already is in a fluid state in the blood itself. So or a separate channel which is taking the lymph, as I remember my school days. So lymph is a fluid state matter only. So probably we cannot take the plasma directly into the lymph state. So is that you are asking about?
Yes. Yes, I understood that is difference, but in the sense of the plasma, like oceans made up of Paramanu, how is in our body and how to manage this? Is it possible to elaborate a little about this?
Yeah, plasma is the analogy just we are putting it right now. So we cannot make one-to-one at this stage right now, how the plasma is in the state of a lymph or in the blood, like we are only considering it up to the energy level right now.
Yes, understood. But in the energy level in the human being, how is I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. If you heard about the discussion what Dr. Sudandra Devi, madam, she was just explaining. So in terms of prana, so she was talking about.
Yes. Now
Yeah,
I
so
understand.
it is something like that. So the energy particle or the life force particle, so which are you can consider it as a whirling wave, a spinning of the whirling wave of a cluster of paramanus or the more than the next level of paramanus. So we call it as the wind. So that life force particle, so when they are whirling wave, so when it is rotating when it is spinning within your body, so it is going to create a magnetism. So that magnetism we call it as biomagnetism, because within the body it is going to get created. So this biomagnetism is responsible for all the things. So whatever you are saying, so that is why we talked about biomagnetism in the brain. So the ANS and CNS, and then talking about biomagnetism as 5 sensory wave perception, like so Panchatan Matra. So we call it as all the feel, touch, everything. So everything is getting built in terms of both the life particles as well as the biomagnetism. That is how it is built. So she was talking about the Sukshma Nadi. So that was having a first Nadi that got produced. So that got produced might be that is the building of the total human body. So it was making the first cell out of it. So when it is making the first cell, so the life force particle, so it has created the biomagnetism, and the biomagnetism with the help of genetic center. So it has started creating the first cell probably. Then once it is made, then it is the same way. So it is going to create the duplicate, the same thing with the next cell. So every cell is getting duplicated like this, and finally you start building up the whole structure. So that one, this is the mechanism where you don't have any other new mechanism other than these three. That is why it is kept in the divine fluid. So in that fluid, so you have 2 running particles. One is the running particle, another is the magnetism. So these two in combination, so they are going to build the whole structure, like from the cell form to the total physical body. So then automatically all the things are coming out like this. If you see that, so our Guru here sometime back, so he was discussing about this plasma. So he was also mentioning that you see in the body, so already there is a blood plasma, and everything ends with like endoplasm, cytoplasm. So everywhere this plasm, so that means plasma is something like floating. So everything is floating and connected, but actually a disconnection. So some sort of connection is there. So that is how the total body got built up. So everywhere people have already given the names of plasma, so ectoplasm, endoplasm, cytoplasm. So many things they call it as plasma only. So that is how we are now trying to reinvent the wheel. So that is how we are trying to see that. Is it okay? You are able to...
And that the biomagnetism then is present in all the 7 dhatus, the physical body.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
In the presentation, what I have shared today about Ayurvedic presentation on Ojas, Tejas, and Prana. So there also they have mentioned. So this Ojas, the life force particle. So they are saying that is responsible to build all the things. At the same time, from within the 7 elements also, so it is going to work. So that is how they have mentioned there also.
Yes,
So that is a proof. Yeah,
now it's more clear. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Bye, Mudan.
Because nobody is talking, can I come in again?
Yeah,
Sure.
yes. Yeah.
Okay. To answer that question of Julia about the plasma, as Dr. Prakash explained, and Swamiji repeatedly goes on saying the order of creation. So from consciousness, it becomes energy, and then subatomic particles, atom, molecule, panchabhutas, matter, and life. So all of us know this. And all of us, repeatedly, we think about the causal body and the astral body or the subtle body and the physical body. But we never talk about the energies in these three bodies, So the causal body, the energy is the ethereal or the spiritual energy. It is the prana and then like this plasmic, bioplasmic fields. But when it comes to the astral body, the energy is the thing, light waves, radio waves, electromagnetism, photons, and so many sound waves. All these things are in the astral field. And when it comes to the physical body, it becomes the electrical and chemical energy. Those are the two energies that drive our body. And how does it get converted into this electrical and physical energies? Because the causal energy is the subtlest one, physical energy is the grossest one, and astral is in between. Though the causal energy is the source, living beings cannot draw upon that energy directly. The plants do a wonderful job of absorbing that causal energy with the help of the Panchabhutas and supply us with it. They change it into the chemical form and then supply it to us. So the plants produce chemicals also. All the herbs are full of chemicals. So they also produce the chemicals which our body converts into electrical energy. So with this, we can see how the Sapta Dhatus and Ojas is formed. So Dhatu, what you mean by Dhatu is the formative tissue or the building block of the body. So it has both anatomical and physiological aspects. So each Dhatu has a specific structure and a specific functions, such as dynamic integration, coordination of the functional systems of the body and mind. So in that way, if you take, when you eat the food, it gets digested, and then the rasa, ahara rasa, or the essence of the food is absorbed by the body, and that is the rasa dhatu. And this rasa dhatu is the plasma, because it is all the energy plus all the chemicals and all that, and it's more like the plasma distributed throughout the body. But when blood cells, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets are added to that, then it becomes blood. And from this plasma and the blood, all the other dhatus come, all the other five. Because it contains proteins. This plasma contains proteins. So what the muscle does is, some cells take up more protein and form the muscle. And then some cells take the fat from the food that we eat and form the fat. Actually, the teaching is that one is formed from the other. But if you think rationally, it is not possible. They are formed sequentially or at the